You're listening to AI Prism from Seoul Economic Daily.
It's Monday, July 6th. Let's look at what's happening in Korea's property market. Specifically, buyers in their 30s are just suddenly taking over Seoul real estate.
Right, yeah.
And they aren't using the fragile leverage of the past. So if you're weighing your next move, trying to figure out if this new data changes your loan strategy or entry timing, we are skipping the background today. We're just getting straight to the hard numbers to see what's driving this.
Yeah, you really have to look at the specific demographic dominating the transaction volume right now to make a smart move. It requires a really policy-precise lens.
It does. And the sheer volume of millennials buying right now is, well, it's staggering.
Mm-hmm.
From January to May 2026, buyers in their 30s captured a record 40.9% of all apartment transactions in Seoul. And in April alone, that hit 45.9%.
Almost half the market.
Yeah.
And it's not staying confined to the city center either.
Right.
It's radiating outward into key suburban hubs. Like if you look at Anyang-dongtan and Gwangyang, 30-somethings now account for over half the market there.
Wait, over half?
Yeah, over half.
Yeah.
And they're essentially setting the floor prices, driving up valuations by 10.3% and 9.5% respectively.
Okay, but I have to challenge this a bit because we've seen a movie like this before.
You mean back in 2021?
Exactly. In 2021, we had this massive frenzy where people were scraping together every penny. Is this just a repeat of that?
I get why you'd ask that.
Like, are we looking at a giant Jenga tower of debt where one interest rate hike pulls the wrong block and the whole thing collapses? Aren't they just an engine running way too hot on temporary fuel?
It's a fair fear, definitely.
Yeah.
But the foundation of that Jenga tower is fundamentally different this time. Back in 2021, buyers relied heavily on JUNs.
Right, that tenant deposit leverage, which is highly fragile.
Exactly. Today, financial institution loans are directly underwriting 41.2% of each purchase. That's a massive structural shift from 5 years ago when traditional loans only covered 29.1%.
So instead of relying on unpredictable tenant deposits, they're going straight to the banks. But the sheer size of the debt is what gives me pause here. I mean, the average loan amount has rocketed from roughly $94,000 to $242,000 per transaction.
It's a huge jump.
They're taking on nearly 3 times the debt. How is that safer?
Well, because you have to look at the equity sitting underneath those loans. Gifted and inherited capital, essentially. The bank of mom and dad has doubled.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it now makes up 7.5% of the total funding mix. So this isn't speculative house of cards leverage. This is heavy, traditional bank debt secured by real generational family wealth.
Acting as a massive safety net.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's a much more entrenched, wealthy demographic driving the volume. But anytime you have a surge in traditional bank-financed buying localized in hotspots, the government's alarm bells go off.
Oh, absolutely.
And sure enough, they've stepped in, which directly affects the lending options for anyone listening. Like, tell us about the July 1st policy shift.
Right. So Hwaseong Dongtan and Guri areas, seeing a huge influx of these buyers, have officially been placed on the regulated zone list.
Which immediately triggers tighter LTV and DSR caps on new mortgages, right?
Right. To break that down mechanically, a tighter DSR cap means banks have to look strictly at your monthly income and severely limit how much cash they can legally lend you.
Regardless of the property's value.
Exactly. So listeners should really watch for a 30 to 60-day cooling effect in transaction volumes in those newly regulated districts, just as buyers pause to recalculate their financing.
Okay, so near-term lending is getting squeezed in those suburban zones. But what if I start looking away from the suburbs and toward the premium long-term pipeline?
You mean like the Jamsil River redevelopment?
Yeah, specifically the Jangmi 1, 2, and 3 complex is clearing milestones for 5,105 units. If I'm trying to time my entry, how does a massive project like that change the calculus?
With supply constraints locked in through at least 2027, the recovered 30-something market share will keep near-term entry windows structurally compressed. This cohort is armed with fundamentally different capital, utilizing dual incomes alongside KRW and USD equity gains tied to broader markets like the KOSPI. While the 10,000 new units along the Han River present a long-dated opportunity, we make no buy or sell recommendations.
Right. It just fundamentally changes how you have to view the competition. These younger buyers aren't scraping by. They're deploying serious diversified capital.
They really are.
Which leaves you with this to mull over for the week. If major tech firms post massive Q2 earnings beats this week, how much of those corporate bonuses and equity gains will immediately pour right into this strictly supply-constrained housing market?
You've been listening to AI Prism from Seoul Economic Daily.